Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're diving into a really fascinating question. Can true luxury also be truly sustainable? I mean, for the longest time, those two ideas have seemed like they're on opposite ends of the spectrum. So let's figure out if sustainable luxury is a real evolution or if it's just a contradiction in terms.
So think about it for a second. When you hear luxury hotel, your mind probably jumps to, sprawling suites, over-the-top service, pure indulgence. But what if I told you that the future of luxury has something to do with turning old coffee grounds into fertilizer? Yeah, exactly. That surprising little detail is really at the heart of what we're exploring today.
All right, so first up, we've got to unpack what we're calling the luxury paradox. This is really the core conflict that this whole conversation is built around.
You see, on one side of the coin, traditional luxury has always been about more. More comfort, more service, more, well, everything. It's a culture of abundance, of consumption. And then on the other side, you've got sustainability, which is built on totally different ideas. Things like restraint, conservation, and responsibility. You see the clash, right? They seem like they just can't exist in the same space.
But here's the thing. A new philosophy is starting to take hold that's trying to solve this very paradox. And it's captured perfectly in this simple but incredibly powerful idea. This is the mindset shift that some really pioneering businesses are using to completely rewrite the rules of what it means to be luxurious.
Okay, so that philosophy sounds great, but how do you actually turn it into a business that works? Well, you need a whole new blueprint, and that brings us right into our next section, building a sustainable model.
The framework for this was what's known as a Sustainable Business Model, or SBM. And look, the key thing to get here is that this isn't about some side project or a little bit of charity work. No, this is about weaving sustainability into the actual DNA of the company, so it shapes every single decision they make from the top down.
Now, what I love about this is how it visualizes the famous triple bottom line. Instead of just seeing people, planet, and profit as, three separate pillars, this analogy is brilliant. It treats them like the layers of the earth. Right at the center, the core, you've got people. That's your social foundation. Wrapped around that is the planet, the environmental layer, and then on the very surface is profit, the economic crust, that really protects and makes the other two possible. Every layer is absolutely essential.
All right, so theory is one thing, but what does this actually look like in the real world? Well, that brings us to our case study, where we get to go inside the Hong Kong and Shanghai Hotels Group.
So this luxury hotel group, which goes by HSH, has put together this massive, comprehensive strategy to make this new model a reality. They call it their Sustainable Luxury Vision 2030, and it's basically their roadmap for the future of their business.
And their whole vision is built on these three pillars. It's not just about the environment by itself. It's about creating real value for their guests, for their own staff, and for the local communities where their hotels are. This is that people and planet idea in action, perfectly integrated.
And look, the results are very real. Since 2010, HSH has cut its carbon intensity by a whopping 36%. So this isn't just talk. We're talking about real, data-backed progress.
And they get there by making these huge structural commitments. We're talking about designing entire new buildings to meet super strict sustainable standards, pouring money into renewable energy, installing high-tech water recycling systems. I mean, they're thinking about everything, right down to the wooden materials they use in renovations.
But honestly, it's the clever, small details that really bring this whole strategy to life. They aren't just reducing waste, they're transforming it. Old bed linens become teddy bears for charity. Used coffee grounds become soap and fertilizer. Oyster shells from their fancy restaurants, they're used to help rebuild local reefs. This is the circular economy at its best, and it's just so cool to see.
So you gotta ask, right? What really pushes a huge company to go to all this trouble? That brings us to our next part, where we dig into the real driving forces behind this kind of transformation.
And it turns out, it's not just one thing. It's actually this powerful mix of three key factors. First, you've got passionate leadership pushing the vision from the very top. Then, you have all these external pressures from the outside world. And this is a big one. It all has to be backed up by simple, sound economic logic.
And believe me, those external pressures are no joke. As a public company, they have to report on this stuff. They need to keep tough certifications to prove they're legit. And on top of that, you have guests in the public who are just expecting more and more. The world is watching, and that keeps the bar really high.
Which brings us to a super important point. Profit isn't the enemy of sustainability. It's the engine that actually pays for it. Just like a manager from the company said, Without a healthy bottom line, there's just no money to invest in all these amazing initiatives for people and the planet. It's a totally pragmatic and necessary partnership.
So all of this brings us to our final question, where we circle all the way back to the beginning. Have they actually figured out a way to deliver real luxury, but without all the waste? And this right here, this really nails the shift. They haven't just cut back on waste, they've fundamentally changed what luxury even means. It's not just about consumption and opulence anymore. This new model is focused on responsibility and, I love this word, regeneration. The idea of leaving a place even better than you found it. And that right there is the ultimate takeaway. For a company like HSH, sustainability isn't a compromise you have to make. It's actually become a core part of the luxury experience itself, a massive competitive advantage that totally sets them apart and redefines the whole game for a new generation.
So, I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. As more and more people demand this kind of responsibility, is this commitment to people, planet, and profit no longer just a nice option, but the only real standard for what it means to be a true luxury brand today? The answer to that could change the entire industry. Thanks for joining this explainer.